results. But why isn't it the best test for traveling? That's all coming up this week ahead. Hey everyone, welcome in and thanks for joining me once again for this week ahead. The infrastructure we lay out is important to our very way of life. This was highlighted in Texas as a historical winter storm wiped out the power grid and ultimately had rippling effects to many of us here. I think this week ahead, it's important to remember how looking forward to future issues like that is a major priority for us as your local government. While we don't supply power to your homes directly, it is part of our planning process when we do the new infrastructure projects or any kind of major projects like that. We do, however, supply you and our rural neighbors with water. We serve somewhere around 80 to 90,000 people with Minot water, and our staff at Public Works are always trying to make sure any hiccups in production or distribution doesn't put us in a bind rendering you without that water. A major mitigating project to any potential supply issue has been ongoing for a generation. And thanks to fairly recent legal victories, the conclusion is getting just a little bit closer. It's the Northwest Area Water Supply Project. While it is a State Water Commission project, it is still one of our largest infrastructure projects we've had in the entire city's history. It's a project that has drawn interest from every level of government because of the wide impact to our region. A $300+ million project. To summarize the need for NAWS, it's essentially a project that will secure a water source for our community and all of north central North Dakota. Minot's role in regional water production expanded in the early 2000s because many in the rural areas did not have a supply of quality drinking water. That's when we stepped in. But because of that, our supply of water is at risk. We're pulling water from our groundwater wells, treating it, and then sending it out and throughout Minot. We're also sending it out to help our local neighbors in Berthold, Burlington, Kenmere, Sherwood, Lansford, and Mulhall. And soon, with NAWS, we'll be sending quality water to Bottineau, West Hope, and Souris. Construction on NAWS began 2002. We were able to lay pipe from where the intake will be at Lake Sakakawea all the way to here in Minot and all the way north to Sherwood. We're finalizing efforts to expand our second phase of our water treatment plant expansion here in Minot to be able to treat and store the water, the new water source to supply the rural reaches of the area. One final phase of upgrades to the Minot plan is expected to be completed in 2023 to 2025. The State Water Commission has already designed and awarded the bid for the construction of the biota treatment facility, which will be near Max. This facility is a requirement due to some of the legal settlement with Manitoba. NAWS as a project is really starting to pick up steam, but we still have a few more hills to climb. There are a few bills at the legislature as well that revolve around funding and the future operational ownership of NAWS. I imagine that will be the case until we get Missouri River water flowing all the way north, which will be a major step to ensuring future issues of our supply are mitigated and that you can rely on water flowing into your home regardless of almost any unforeseen circumstances. Now, to help me with this topic, because I'm really starting to get out of my wheelhouse here, is the man that is so fortunate enough to actually inherit NAWS, and that's our Public Works Director, Dan Jonas. And Dan, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, I want to begin by maybe rehashing the importance of NAWS to our community. This project is not just a Minot-specific project, it's a state project, but it has great benefits to the city of Minot and the surrounding communities. Why, after almost 20 years, is this project still needed for us?
Absolutely. The NAWS project, like you said, it not only provides reliable drinking water to the citizens of Minot. You know, right now we pull our water from aquifers, and we've seen those levels of those aquifers declining. So to have a reliable source to meet all of the demands of not only the citizens of Minot, but the north central region of North Dakota that NAWS will provide water to and is providing water to right now. The Kenmares, the Bertholds, the Upper Souris, different rural water providers along the area. It provides, takes care of water quality issues that they're seeing out in their communities. Whether it's poor water quality, arsenic levels in some of their water, different things like that. But it also will provide Minot the ability to increase its, the ability to lure some sort of industrial use in Minot. Right now, typically to get an industrial or high commercial business in here, you need to have water available to them. Whether it's 100,000 gallons a day or 1,000,000 gallons a day that some of these producers might need. Right now, Minot doesn't have that extra capacity. We need the water through the NAWS system, the raw water, so that we can treat it at our plant, and this will provide additional growth for the city of Minot.
That's a really great point that I often forget myself. This isn't just about drinkable, potable water, but this also is water that can help with economic development for our community.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a vital part of economic development for our community and the region, and the other communities around us that may be looking at trying to get some economic development for them.
So I want to refocus to the project as a whole. I mean, this has been a waiting game for a long time. We're talking 3 decades here. The idea came up in the early 90s, 1991. Earth was moving in 2002. We had some projects going, but we had to wait on a lot of the big pieces due to legislation. Now we get to work. What should we expect in the coming years, really, for this project?
Basically, in the next biennium, you're going to see a lot of the major infrastructure being built that is going to bring the water to Minot, to the region, the raw water that we need to treat from Lake Sakakawea. You'll see the Snake Creek intake and pump station down on the divide that will come to fruition hopefully in summer, fall of 2021. That will provide the raw water to the Max Biota water treatment plant that was just awarded last week by the State Water Commission. So that will treat the water before it comes over the Continental Divide. Like I said, those are the 2 big components.
A lot of people, including myself, we generally take for granted the complicated engineering with our water system. I liken this to sort of the Texas electrical grid, of course, that made news just this past week. Because of that, and because of the sprawling areas we're trying to support with our water supply, that's why it's a state project. And therefore, it's had a lot of conversation during this legislative session. I know you've been active in a fury of conversations in Bismarck this session, but there were a few that have lasting impacts to NAWS. So what are those bills being discussed at the legislature, and what are the best case scenarios for us after this session for NAWS?
Probably the biggest one, or the most vital one, is House Bill 1020. That provides funding to the State Water Commission for water projects throughout the state of North Dakota. In there, tentatively right now, there's about $33.5 million slated towards the NAWS project. Like I said, that'll help us complete a couple of the major projects that we need: the Snake Creek intake, Souris Reservoir and booster stations, and our last piece of pipeline that we need. Like I said, that's probably the most critical one is the funding, to keep the funding going forward. And there is strong support with our legislature since NAWS saw a 15 or 16-year halt essential due to the lawsuits from Manitoba and Missouri to finally get this project completed now in the next 5 years, 7 years, whatever it's going to take to complete it. So that's probably the most critical one. There's another bill out there that talks about the reorganization of the NAWS Advisory Committee. There was an advisory committee set up when NAWS was first being discussed to help guide the oversight and the construction of the NAWS project. Like you said, it's a complicated project. There's a lot of little nuances that people don't realize. You know, there's with the environmental impact statement that was done for the third time. I'll note, and finally approved by the court. There's federal commitments in there on things the federal government is responsible for, such as the construction of the biota plant, the operations of the biota plant. There's state commitment for this project, and there's the commitment by the city of Minot for the 35% cost share of this project. So it's a lot of little parts and pieces, but I'm happy to say strong support from all of the entities and our legislators to see this go forward and get completed, so that we have good, reliable drinking water. But with that, like I said, there's certain things in the EIS that limit us as to what we can do, where we can go, who we can provide water to. So we have to keep that in mind also. So that's what the NAWS Advisory Committee basically does, is it provides guidance to the state engineer on how they feel the project should go forward, provides input on that. So there is a bill in there now to reorganize the NAWS Advisory Committee. Basically, there's a couple entities that aren't being served anymore when the initial study was done, so they're being removed. There's a couple entities that are being added to the NAWS Advisory Committee, but probably the most important part of it is there's been a strong push from the legislators to come up with a plan on who exactly should own and operate and maintain the NAWS system when it's complete. So under this bill, the NAWS Advisory Committee is being tasked with coming up with a overall ownership, operation, and maintenance plan before the next legislative session, and provide an update to that report and plan to the legislature.
You alluded to this earlier. It's 30 years in the making. Half of that was paused due to litigation. Our wheels are starting to turn now. Max Biota treatment facility was just awarded a bid. That's great news, but when will we actually start to see NAWS water running through these pipes?
So currently there is, I guess, NAWS water running through the pipes. We're serving several communities, but I think the bigger question is, and what you're kind of alluding to, is when will we get NAWS water from the lake so that we have reliable treatment source? And if the Snake Creek intake and pump station gets awarded this year, so that we have the ability to pump water to the NAWS biota plant, which you'd mentioned was awarded last week by the State Water Commission. All those pieces fall together. We should see water coming to Minot through the Max Biota treatment plant in early 2024.
2024. That's when we can start seeing stuff from the lake start piping into ours. right?
Yes, yes.
Great. Great. I'm going to set a calendar reminder now, Dan. And if you're not
Okay,
on the lake fishing yet, we're going to talk, okay?
okay. Sounds good.
All
Even
right.
if I'm
Well,
on the fishing, we'll talk.
okay, that sounds great. Dan, I appreciate your time, but I do want to give you one opportunity. If I've missed anything or something you want to maybe tell the people that you don't think that everybody fully grasps about the importance of this project, why we're doing this, or how it all kind of comes together for Minot.
No, I think we've covered it. And like I said, it kind of lost its, I guess, its place in the media for a long time when we were under injunction by the courts. But it's exciting now. We've got momentum. We've got strong support, and I think we're going to make tremendous progress in the next couple of years in completing the NAWS system. Other than a few other minor projects that we're going to have to do some more plant upgrades and some storage reservoirs. But the main thing is the next couple of years, I think we're going to be serving everyone on the NAWS system that they initially was designed to serve, whether it's through our temporary treatment using our aquifers through Minot or permanently getting water from the lake. So it's an exciting time. Good to see it moving forward again, and hopefully all of North Central North Dakota will be drinking quality water in the next couple of years.
That's the goal. All right, Dan, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day, man.
Thank you. You too.
All right, thanks, Dan. This week ahead, we will be purchasing the future home of your next city hall. On Tuesday, the mayor, on behalf of the city council, will close on what was once the Wells Fargo building downtown here in Minot. And the process of securing a safe location for our central dispatch and the rest of City Hall will be well on its way. This is a project that is part of the National Disaster Resilience Program, with the majority of funds to pay for it coming from that grant. The new City Hall project will allow for the growth of our current City Hall, but also growth for a crowded, cramped, and a very space-needy police department. That department will absorb the footprint of our current City Hall. This project isn't popular for many, we know that. But we've dramatically outgrown the current City Hall. We have inadequate meeting spaces, offices in copy rooms, file cabinets stored in the hallways, and some of us, like myself, we don't even have a space within the confines of City Hall. Many couldn't find my office even if they tried. This now is our chance to maximize federal funds, be sure our central dispatch, which is now currently below the expected flood elevation level, that they can be high and dry, and also improve the working conditions for our police officers, all in one effort with one cost. The project is expected to be about $12 million or so, with $8 million of that, the majority of that money coming from a federal grant for the resilience aspects of this project's value. Having a city presence downtown also has its own merits. The project is just now getting ahead with its process by securing a location downtown. But it's one you should be aware of, at least coming up this week ahead. Now consider this another reminder for rapid COVID-19 screening at Fire Station number 1, right off of 20th Avenue. Of course, if you're familiar with this, you know we've probably changed our hours a bit from when we began the testing a couple months ago. Testing is now available 3 days a week. That's Monday from 8 to 2, Thursday 2 to 7, and then on Saturday from 10 to 2. Be sure to plan accordingly. You want to make sure that you pre-register as well. That's at testreg.nd.gov. Now, I do want to make one plea for you. Don't plan on these rapid tests to get you across the border. You do need a PCR test for that. These rapid antigen tests are not, in almost any case, compliant with international travel requirements. Our fire department cannot supply you with any of the documentation or paperwork for travel either. All those results come directly from the state health department. So if you're hoping to hop a plane and head to Canada or even to Hawaii, you'll still need to receive one of those PCR tests from First District or your healthcare provider. I think I'm preaching to the choir here, but I feel obligated to make a mention of this because we've had some less than polite calls to our fire station, and it's not necessary. Our firefighters are there working overtime to supply our community an opportunity for a quick result testing to find COVID infections in our community. They're not there to help you go on vacation. If you want to do that, you will need to plan ahead. Of course, if you're feeling any flu-like symptoms, a loss of taste or smell, or anything associated with COVID-19 symptoms, please stay home and get tested. So thanks, of course, for watching this, but I want to make mention of another way you can learn more about your city. It's very similar to this, but it's a twice monthly newsletter that we send out. This one has more journalistic style stories, so you can know more about Minot. The latest issue, for example, dove into a brilliant new piece of equipment that will help us better fill those pesky spring potholes by recycling asphalt. This newsletter also recaps your city council meetings and is a great single source of important dates to keep in mind each and every month. Be sure to sign up for that. And thanks for joining me on This Week Ahead. If you have any questions for us, please let us know. We will be happy to answer them. You can go to minotnd.org/mailbag, or you can email us at info@minotnd.org. Use the subject line of mailbag. And if you haven't subscribed to this as a podcast, please do so. If that's your jam, you can go to minotnd.org/thisweekahead, find all of that, or you can go to Apple Podcast or Spotify and follow us on social media. We are at City of Minot just about everywhere. Thanks for joining me and enjoy This Week Ahead.